and welcome back, Popheads. Sorry for the weird transition there, going from Metallica's Master of Puppets into Baby Come Home by our good friends in Dirty Sweet. But, you know, you do what you got to do for the podcast, and that's how we wanted to open the show with our Stranger Things final 2 episodes. We're a bit late getting this out to the masses. This has been on the Patreon for about a month now, and I probably should have gotten it out to the masses a couple weeks ago. But things have been hectic and hairy, and I hope you understand, and I appreciate your patience, and it's here now, and I guess that's the good news, and hopefully that means also by now that you've all been able to watch Stranger Things and have enjoyed it as much as I have, and that's what you're going to hear a lot of in this conversation between my brother and I as we wrap up these final 2 episodes, is just how much we really enjoy Stranger Things. I mean, it was a really great season, and I don't think there's anything more we can say about it right now than that. But we're going to get into it, the nitty-gritty. We talk about some things, get into some theories, some ideas, talk about some various elements of these final 2 episodes. And it is now here for your consumption. It's a long one, so pause is needed. Take your breaks when you have to. Listen to us on if you're training for a marathon or something. This might be a good podcast for you to listen to on that. Otherwise, it's just going to be a good time. So you know what that means. You got to sit down, buckle up, hold on to your butts, and buckle up again. Let's go.
If you touch her again, I will kill you again.
Is that what you did? Did you kill me? I am so glad you are here, 11. This is going to be beautiful. So beautiful. And it's all thanks to you.
All right, joining me now once again via the power of the internet and the Skype, which barely works, but at least it's free, and that's why we use it. My brother Mark is here. Welcome back, sir. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm feeling foxy. No, I'm feeling fine. Thank you. It's an interesting day down here thus far. I'm kind of tired. Kind of this weird mix of tired but excited for this conversation. So there's a weird blend of energies happening on my end, but I'm ready to get into it. How about you?
I'm ready.
You're ready. All right. Now your video is not working, so I can't see you. You're just sort of like an Obi-Wan Kenobi bodiless voice at the moment, which I dig. I like that vibe. Works for the podcast. But do you have a beverage with you today?
I do.
What do you have, sir?
I actually have the same thing I had last time we talked about Stranger Things, which is Allagash's Fine Acre Organic Golden Ale.
Nice. I mixed it up today. I was gonna. I reached into the fridge and I was going for a Pizza Port beer, but was like, you know what? I need to do something different. I gotta change course on things a little bit here. So I grabbed a beer from our good friends at Mother Earth Brewing Company. They're up north in Vista. This is and Reagan would be excited for this one because it's a hazy IPA, which I don't do very often. But Mother Earth does some nice ones, and this is their Fractured Reality Hazy India Pale Ale. It's hopped up with Eldorado, Citra, and Triumph. It is 7.5%, and it's part of like this. I don't know if you can see the can, but they're doing like this.
A little bit.
Yeah, they got like this series of rotating IPAs they put out that has like local artists doing the can art, doing like the label art.
Yeah.
And it's got this kind of like a creepy woman vibe thing going on. I can't even describe it. I'll have to try and take a picture for you later. But it's got a creepy vibe to it. I was like, you know what? This is kind of going to work for Stranger Things. This is going to be okay.
Well, it also says Fractured Reality, so that kind of works for it too.
Right, like the whole thing kind of works out really well. And I did not plan that. It was like I just sort of grabbed it out of the fridge, and then as I was looking, I was like, oh, this will work nicely.
There you go.
There we go. Synchronicity, somehow, some way, it's all happened. It's all come together. All right, so yeah, you said it. I mean, we're here. We're reconvening to finish the conversation that we started a few weeks back. As we wrapped up like what the first 7 episodes of Volume 4 of Stranger Things. Now we're back to finish Volume 4 of Stranger Things with Part 2, which is what episodes 8 and 9, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, how would you like to get into this? You want to break it down episode by episode, or do you just want to kind of talk about everything?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, we can just kind of start talking about everything, and if it all
Yeah,
just
because
starts to separate itself into episode by episode, then
yeah, I
sure.
mean, I feel like par for the course for this podcast would be like we would start episode by episode, and then it would all just become a mishmash of back and forth, anyways. So,
Right.
but I mean, at least with there's been a lot made of the runtime for these last 2 episodes of the season. Episode 8 was about an hour and a half, and episode 9, the season finale, was about 2 hours and 20 minutes. But at least between those episodes, there was definitely like a line of delineation, right? Like you could see the breaking point. So it does lend itself to a little bit of an easier chat. But yeah, I suspect, knowing us, we're going to go back and forth. So we'll try to keep it as clear as possible. But we're also operating under the assumption that most people have watched these episodes and will know where we're at.
Right.
All right, so let's kind of just do an overview. What did you think of these last 2 episodes?
I loved them.
Ooh, love, or loved?
I don't know the difference between those two
Just
things.
say
They
all.
sounded exactly the
Yeah,
same.
all of the above. That's an acceptable answer. It's fine. Don't worry about it. All right.
Okay.
So it stuck the landing. You got everything you wanted out of it. The emotional, the action, the all the things. It all worked for you, right?
I I think it was very good, and en- I enjoyed my time with it. There are some things, that I was like, "Mm." But just like overall in terms of my enjoyment, like yeah, I loved it. I think I said it last time. I enjoy spending time in this world,
Mm-hmm.
and even though the run times are a little bit long, and even though I feel like this season is a little bit bloated. Should I mute while that siren is going, or?
I actually can't hear anything at the moment.
Oh, okay, sorry. So even though I feel like this season is a little bit bloated with the run times, I also kind of don't care because I love the world so much.
Yeah,
So
I think we did mention it before, how it was sort of an interesting conundrum they put themselves, position the Duffer Brothers put themselves in by having by breaking the kind of like breaking the main party up into like sort of like 3 sub parties, right? So you had
right,
3 different groups of people you had to kind of follow around, and they're geographically on other sides from each other, right? So
right,
it sort of takes kind of what they do in any other season, where everyone kind of parties off, or pairs
right.
off, or becomes a smaller group. But they're all still in Hawkins, or in the general area of Hawkins, Indiana. This time around, we got one group in Russia, we got one group in the desert in Nevada, and then obviously the party in Hawkins. And I sort of wondered going into these episodes, like, well, gosh, how are they going to bring this all together? It seems like a really tight time frame, because one of the things I was thinking about a lot about with these last 2 episodes when I was watching them a second time around was I sort of didn't really think about how compact the timeline actually is, because there's so much going on. It feels like it's got more breathing room than it actually does, but everything's kind of happening in a really quick amount of time.
Right. Few days.
Yeah, a few days, but because our cast for the show is so massive, and there's so many different things going on, it feels a little bit more spread out than it actually is. Which I was like, oh, I have to keep reminding myself of, like, all these things are kind of happening, especially in the final episode. All these storylines are kind of happening at the exact same time.
Right.
It was very, it was a very unique way to tell that final episode. And like I said, by and large, I mean, you can make the argument like what kind of lazy writing, coincidental bullshit is this? But I think it works out really, really nicely overall for the way they kind of bring it all together. I think it lands.
Yeah, I thought so too. I didn't really think of it as being coincidence.
Yeah, like I said, some of the article reviews I've read have sort of mentioned that, and I was like, well, I don't really think so necessarily. It just seems like they're all on the same page because these people have been doing this since season one, basically for the by and large. I mean, Hopper and Joy and everybody like that, Joyce, and all these characters have been kind of in the mix. They know what's up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it works because you have the stuff with 11 in Nevada
Hmm.
where Brenner and Owens are trying to get her prepared to fight Vecna, and then you have the kids and Hawkins who are getting prepared to fight Vecna themselves. And I think because that's the goal of Brenner and Owens to get her ready, like it's okay that the storylines match up. There's a sense of urgency on both sides.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? The Russia side of the story didn't really coincide with any. That was its own thing, if I remember correctly. I didn't rewatch it. I've only seen it the one time, so it was like about a week ago that I watched it. So I don't remember the Russia side of the story affecting the other two stories all that much.
So let's talk about the Russia side of the story first because as I sort of mentioned when we did the first half of the season, the Russia stuff, while it was good and it's enjoyable, and there's elements that I'm enjoying, and like I like the character of Hopper, and I like the whole like let's go to Russia and rescue Hopper thing. It is sort of like the C story to me, right?
Yeah.
Of the three groups that we're following, theirs is sort of like the least impactful to me. It's like, yes, we want to see Hopper get out of Russia, but I think we all sort of know eventually Hopper's getting out of Russia. Like they never really felt like there was any danger of Hopper dying or not making it back to 11 at any point.
Well, we can get into characters being in
Well,
danger. I mean, it
I
doesn't
do
seem
want
like any character is really in danger.
I do want to say that, but I was going to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So it just never felt like the sense of peril. Like again, it's a really enjoyable aspect of the storyline, but
Yeah.
it's also the part of is like, when I watched it the second time around, I was like, well, all right. There's nothing major happening here. I can kind of fast forward through chunks of this. I understand the storyline here, particularly in these last two episodes. They break out of the Russian prison. Then the next episode, they're like, you know what? We got to break back into the Russian prison.
Right.
And then we find out that the demigorgons have gone wild. The particles, whatever you want to call it,
Mind flare.
the mind flayer, but Joyce calls it the particles. It's all connected. It's all happening. They're all running wild now in the Russian prison, and Hopper and Joyce and Murray have to fight everybody in that aspect of the threat. And it's sort of, again, without realizing what's going on at the same time, as they're battling the demigorgons and the mind flare particles, they are having an effect on Vecna. They don't know that at the time, but it just sort of reinforces that all these things are happening simultaneously. Because
That's right. Okay.
as Murray is blowtorching the demigorgons and the particles and everything, it has an effect on Vecna.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and then you have Hopper with his Conan the Barbarian sword,
Yes.
doing that whole. I was like, wait a second, is that Conan's sword?
I don't think it was
It's
the
pretty damn
exact one, but
similar.
it's very similar.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and he sort of like strikes the Conan pose.
Yeah. I was kind of like, oh, is David Harbour about to be cast as Conan
That's
or something? I think
what,
isn't Netflix doing like a Conan thing? I think they are.
somebody's doing a Conan. Somebody's always doing a Conan thing, and I sort of wonder. I was like, oh, you know what? David Harbour is like sort of like old King Conan. Might be kind of interesting, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd watch that.
Yeah, I was like, I could kind of see that, but
Yeah.
yeah, in the Russia storyline sort of has, again, as we talked about in the first part of our recapping the season, it's probably the most. I don't know if I don't want to say that part of the story has like a lot of bloated additional characters, but it has a lot of characters that are sort of reduced to like not having a lot to do in these last two episodes. You have like the Russian prison guard guy who we all like having to
Yeah.
force the peanut butter smuggler to actually fix the helicopter. And then that just takes
Right.
forever. but that's what they're doing. That's their whole back and forth for the
Yeah.
entirety of like episode 8, and then until he swoops in and saves everybody at 9 after the faceless man has made him feel terrible about being an awful person. So
Yeah, but I mean, you get that also, I think, in the B story with Mike and Will and those guys trying to catch up to 11.
Hmm.
Mike and Will don't have a whole lot to do either, other than kind of sort out their own feelings, and so
Right,
that
which is fairly
they
important, but there's some chinks in that as well. There's some cracks in that storyline, if you will.
right,
I shouldn't say.
yeah,
I meant to say like chinks in the armor, but cracks in the story makes a little bit more sense.
yes, yes.
Uh, yeah. So how do I kind of put a bow on the Russian storyline necessarily? I don't know if we can. I mean, they're sort of stranded. They're trying to figure things out. They're trying to get that helicopter running, but it's sort of. I think my favorite element of it was when they break back into the prison in
Hmm.
episode 9, and they're trying to figure out what the heck happened after they broke out because as they were leaving, the demigorgons were still in the solution in the glass cases. The particles
Right.
were still contained, but everything has gone buck wild since then. And there's that part with uh, the Russian commander. He's all face is all fucked up. He's got the scratches across his face, and he's speaking in Russian to Murray, and
Yeah.
and and telling kind of like the story of what happened. And
Yes.
it gave me I don't okay. You're gonna think I'm nuts, but I kind of got this feel from that sequence. The way those two were the way the Russian commander and Maury were talking, and the one guy's in Russian and Maury's translating it for everyone to understand. I got like serious Lord of the Rings, Mines of Moria vibe. When Gandalf's reading the book. I don't know if you thought the
No,
same thing, but I
not at all.
perfect, nailed it.
Yeah. I don't think I thought of the Lord of the Rings once while watching this.
There's something about it, like the way maybe it was just like the way it was sort of being delivered. It reminded me of the way that Gandalf was reading the last journal entry before the goblins overtook the mines of Moria. Right before the goblins all attack when they're in that crypt. But
No, because I've like I don't know. I feel like the build up during that scene in Lord of the Rings is much more
oh no,
like there's
it's
actual build up,
yeah.
whereas this just felt like, hey, what happened here? Oh, the particles are in them.
Or are
There it
they?
is.
Yeah, no, there it is. Spoiler alert. No, just kidding. Okay. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't really have much else to say about the Russia storyline other than like I don't, again, it's important and it's well done. It's not boring by any stretch, but it's sort of like the least interesting of the interesting storylines.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I think by this point in the show, again, we all love Hopper and everything like that, but if we're not more invested in the Vecna story, then I don't know what we're even doing here.
Right.
Like, who was chomping at the bit to see how like Hopper got out of Russia? Like, oh,
I mean,
that's the story I need conclusion to. Wrap it up.
I think we were all looking forward to see how
Sure,
Hopper gets back and gets out of the situation.
but they are the most removed from the direct action. It's all sort of
Yes,
tangential, right?
yes, yeah,
And I guess that's sort of like my knock on that particular aspect of the storyline. But again, it's not like it's bad or not good or enjoyable because it's all those things still.
right. And I guess I would say for that aspect of the storyline or of the whole show, you could definitely, yeah, like that is a bit coincidental. I didn't think about that when I was watching it though.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Hey, I did something right. Yay!
Okay.
But let's get to our heroes who are in America, because America is what matters. Let's talk about, again, we're not necessarily breaking things down by the episodes, but episode 8 is obviously very focused on 11. The massive revelations to wrap up part 1 of the season about Vecna and number 1 and the whole thing.
Yeah.
But also 11 now having access to her powers again. and,
Yes.
and and being ready to go. Like, hey, give me back. I want to go. There's a fight coming up. Get me ready for the fight. I want to go to the fight. And then obviously we have to go and still deal. We have to sort of get like a resolution with her and Papa. It's all about Papa in episode 8.
Yes.
And how did that work for you? You want to talk about that one in any detail for me?
I mean, I loved episode 8. I think you could almost make the argument that it was better than episode 9.
There's something that was really personal about episode 8 that I think made you feel for it a little bit more.
Well, that and I mean, just like Elle's standoff with the military at the end, I just thought it was very exciting, very well done.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really great sequence. But no, I really liked the Brenner stuff, but the one thing I didn't like was that they didn't bother to explain how he survived the Demogorgon.
So
And I guess it's easy enough to say like, oh, the Demogorgon like bit his face, but it didn't kill him, and he just played dead for a while and laid low.
I
But I would have liked something.
now that you mentioned last time that we chatted, you were rewatching season 1 or and working your way through the show basically.
Yes.
Because that was something I haven't gone back and rewatched the earlier seasons. But yeah, that was my recollection too. Was that he died at a certain point, and I mean I was like when he shows back up again, I'm like, oh, maybe I misremembered that. But that so that was sort of like the implication was that, oh, he's dead now.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I mean, basically, what happens is like like the Demogorgon is off screen, and Brenner, Matthew Modine, is looking at the Demogorgon. It jumps on top of him, and then out of frame, it kills him. Like you hear him scream.
Ah, okay.
So it is out of frame. Technically, it's not on camera. And then in season 2 there are a couple hints that he might still be alive. Again, okay, fine that they brought him back. It seemed like they would at some point, but I wanted some sort of explanation, and also I wanted some sort of reaction from Elle, like, "Hey, you're dead. Like, how are you even still here?"
Was she there when that happens to him? Because again, I don't remember.
I don't think so, but she is, I mean, they're there in the school. Is she in that exact hallway when it happens? I don't remember 100%.
Okay.
But I mean, she is definitely under the impression that he is dead,
Okay.
you know. And then in season 2, she's with her punk rock group, and there's a hint that he might still be alive.
Well, Papa does lie. That's what I've heard.
Yep. He doesn't preach either.
Oh my God. No. 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 You come after me for the bad jokes? You get out of here with that shit.
You're the one who keeps calling him Papa.
That's what they call him. The episode's titled Papa.
That's what I don't care. That's what she calls him. His name is Dr. Brenner.
I just think it's funnier to call him Papa.
All right, well, you won't call him Papa, expect some bad jokes.
But there's a lot in that episode that's sort of kind of it's sort of moving the pieces into place for the finale. But like I said, the stuff with 11 in particular is very like intimate stuff, right? It's very personal. It's very much her coming into her own.
Yes.
And I think that's why, like you said, I mean, you might even like it more than the finale. And I would suspect because of those reasons there. Am I wrong? Am I nuts?
No, I mean that, and just what I was saying, like I think all of the sequences in it were just really like masterfully done, just very well handled, very well shot, edited, cinematography, and like on a technical level, I just thought it was very, very, very good.
I was gonna bring that up actually because I in the first 7 episodes I thought were spectacularly done. But something in those final two episodes changes, and they become like even more cinematic than the first half of the season was. I mean, like you
Yeah,
said, like the way it's sort of like upscaled,
yeah,
like a lot of wide shots and uh, even the stuff that's indoors is lit in a very unique particular way that really gave it this cinematic feel. So
yeah.
you're not wrong, not by any stretch.
And I think that episode does a really good job of cranking the tension. That episode is constantly building tension as to when the bad military guys are going to get to the facility where L is being held, and when Mike and them are going to get there. Like it ratchets that tension very very well. I think that's one of the things about it that makes it stand out to me.
So let's talk about that because as L's having the standoff, with Dr. Brenner, and like the coup within a coup of the military because Brenner betrays Dr. Owens,
Right.
aka Paul Reiser, um,
Yes.
and sort of boots him to the side, and then the actual military who's coming to get all of them anyways is showing up and killing them. So it's as that's all happening, we have Will and Mike and Argyle and oh God,
Jonathan.
Jonathan, thank you, in the Surfer Boy pizza van, trying to get to to the coordinates they got from Dustin's lady friend. Uh, so you
Yes.
got that element going on, and then back in Hawkins you got everybody else who's involved in the Vecna fight, kind of prepping, right? Like they're time to go to war. So they go to the war zone to buy all the army surplus stuff they can get their hands on.
Right.
One question: how'd they pay for all that shit?
Steve's dad's credit card.
Yeah,
Sure.
is that the move?
Sure.
I just sort of was wondering, like, they bought a lot of shit.
I mean, so as you mentioned, I did a rewatch, and when I was watching the first two episodes of season three, um, Max takes Elle to the mall. She's like, "Come on, get out. You need to see the real world." And they leave like with all these really fashionable clothes, and I was just like, "Who paid for that?" I was like, did Max just like did she have like a bunch of allowance saved up and bought Elle some clothes? That was very nice of her. Or did they steal Hop's credit card or something? Maybe they're just shoplifters. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Bad mall security in 1985.
But so that sequence there at the war zone is also where we come across the angry basketball team led by Jason, who's now become a psychopath, and
He's great.
is convinced that uh, the Hellfire Club's a bunch of cultists and they're summoning the devil and all this shit. And
Yeah.
yeah, and he's nuts, and he like gets all up in Nancy's face and grabs her shotgun and stuff, which she's holding upside down, which I thought was weird too. How
How
did
was
that
she holding it?
upside down?
So what, she had the barrel pointed downward?
No, no, no. I mean, like it was like flipped, like the
Oh, oh, oh,
like the
oh,
like the
okay.
trigger and everything's like up.
I don't remember that.
I thought it was very strange.
Oh, maybe she was looking at the pump action on it. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps, perhaps. How did that element of the storyline work for you? The crazy townies deciding that they got to end
This,
end the devil worship.
yeah, the Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
I thought it worked pretty well. I thought that actor did a good job, Jason, of just going from, he thinks he's the next, I don't know, Captain America or something, and he just slowly kind of goes insane, and he just can't handle what's happening, and you build to his confrontation with Lucas at the end. I thought it all worked very well. I thought he had just the right amount of menace there in that scene at the war zone with Nancy. Um, yeah, I really liked it. I thought they handled it well. I thought like okay, little convenient at the end how they get rid of them, but sure, you can't have what happens at the end of this episode and or at the end of this season and not have significant casualties. So
Right. And I think by and large I was okay with it. But I don't know. For some reason, I just get so I get flustered sometimes when I know there's an element of the plot that is like, all right, these people are just here to like interfere with the climax in the final episode. Like that's really all they're there for. And there's
right.
something about that just eats at me, and I don't care for it. Again, I thought it was well done. I thought the stuff, like you said, going into the final episode, the standoff between Jason and Lucas while Max is being possessed by Vecna, I thought it all worked out. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
You know, the whole this whole like you said, the satanic panic stuff was just really there to be a monkey wrench in the third act.
Yeah.
And like you said, it
I
sort of
think
gets
it needs to be there, and I think it's also kind of appropriate to have it there. I think one of the things I like about it is that it's kind of representative of the town waking up to what's been going on inside of it for 4 seasons now, uh, because all of these incredible things have been happening in Hawkins for the past 3 seasons, and only a few people know about it.
right.
So I think it's a good way to kind of get the town involved, get the rest of the town involved, so it doesn't seem so I guess like hokey and silly that all of this is still being like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and yet somehow they still are managing to keep it like under wraps.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's a necessary growth for the story.
Yeah, I guess I just feel like I don't know if they painted themselves into a corner necessarily with the Jason character and sort of his reaction to everything. It's sort of unfortunate, I suppose, that the character couldn't like learn and grow from actually witnessing these things. They just kind of sort of dispose of him, and with him being the ringleader, it all kind of falls apart from there.
I
'Cause
mean, I agree, and I had that thought, but again, that there are just stubborn people out there who aren't willing to listen, and that's what that character is,
no,
you know.
that's a very
And
fair point.
you
Especially, I mean,
you
you can use that nowadays to talk about the world as well.
I mean, you can use that any period in human history,
Yeah.
you know. I think it would only get worse the further back you go. So yeah, not every character is going to be as mature as our core group of heroes are. That's what makes them our heroes, is they're willing to see what others aren't.
Yeah, and to believe. I mean, like it. You know, I
Right.
mean, that's sort of like the charm of the show from the first season was like, oh, they're connecting these things, they're relating these things to Dungeons and Dragons, which is something I can understand.
Right.
You know, so like they're sort of like wrapping it up in something that makes it digestible for us as an audience to process too. You know,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, I don't have a problem. Like I said, there's just something weird about like my first time around watching the show. My anxieties are already high, you know,
Okay.
and so you know when you see them heading towards the murder house, and I'm just like, oh no, they're gonna fuck this up, you know, and you weren't sure like in which way they were gonna fuck it up. Um,
Right.
but it ends up being like a really great scene between for Lucas to really kind of stand on his own and sort of assert his identity, you know, kind of take ownership of himself as a person instead of trying to be all the things that he actually isn't, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And so it works out really nicely that way. But I mean, I did, yeah, when the first time around in that final episode, I mean, my heart was going a million miles a minute. It's a miracle I didn't die watching the final episode of the season. So watching the second time around, I'm a little bit more rational about these things, which is why I have to try and watch things a second time
Right.
because I am overrun with emotions the first time around, especially with this show that had me like losing my mind at various points.
Hmm.
so, so yeah, okay, so yeah, we got now. That's in episode 8 though. They're at the war zone. They're arming up. They're gonna take weapons into the upside down. and then they're preparing for the fight with Vecna. They come up with a plan. They're formulating a plan, and I like that they're formulating a plan. They can't get a hold of Elle, they're going to try and deal with this. They're not freaking out about it. I actually really like that aspect of it. That
Yeah.
they're like, you know what, we can do this. We can handle this on our own. We don't, necessarily need 11. It'd be great if she were here.
Right.
And when 11 gets to the point, again, I don't think this is until episode 9, but when she starts doing like the what do you call that? Like the shadow realm walking thing that she does. It's all black.
Yeah, I
Her,
don't think they've ever, at least in the context of the show, they haven't given it a name. But I mean, you could call it like
it's like her
almost like
cerebro
an
move.
astral projection.
Yeah,
Not astral projection, but like a mental projection.
it's like her cerebro move, like she's Professor X or something.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
But yeah, like astral projection works too. But yeah, so like that's kind of how I actually like the way they did that sequence because it gets 11 caught up on everything in a really
Yes.
quick manner by her just eavesdropping on this conversation.
right.
And I was like, oh, thank God. It saves us so much random exposition to
So
get
much
everyone
time.
caught up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did like that. And then she imparts information to Will and Mike and everybody.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Mike and Will real quick because we were pretty harsh on Mike in our last review, and I'm wondering if you changed your mind at all, or if you came around to anything, or if you got new thoughts about Mike and why he can sit there while his best friend's sobbing and not notice it at all in the back of a pizza truck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody seems to notice it. Jonathan.
Well, Jonathan noticed it.
He
Noticed
notices it, but then he's just like,
Well, they have that talk at the pizza
they
parlor.
do. They do.
That's
they
a nice moment for those brothers. I thought that
It
was a really
is.
good part.
No, it is. It was.
Will is a really tragic character in the show, and I think people kind of forget that sometimes. I mean, he is the OG survivor of the show.
Yeah, I like Will. I don't have anything against that character. I think the problem with his character has just kind of always been like, as we discussed in the first 2 seasons, he was kind of sidelined,
Yeah,
and then now he doesn't have much to do. But I was saying he's kind of like Uhura on Star Trek. He's like the communications officer because he gets his like little spider sense. He knows when Vecna and the mind flare are like up to something, so he can tell the others. That seems to be what they do with him now. Is like, oh, something's happening because
we got to talk about that later. That's going to tie into another a topic I want to bring up with you.
okay. But and Mike, did they redeem him? I think, of course, they did because it's a TV show and character arcs. Hey, um, but do I like Mike? I'm not sure. I just like I said, I just watched rewatched seasons 1 through 3, and I'm just not the biggest fan of Mike.
I
Uh,
I think I could probably agree with that honestly. Like I mean, he's the one who gets. I shouldn't say anything because I haven't rewatched. I'll just go with you on you. I will take your word for it. I sort of feel the same way you feel, but since you've rewatched more recently than I am, just going to let you explain it. So that works for me.
he's just I think he's just in I think very understandably so, but he's just kind of a selfish character, um, and so I'm just not the biggest fan.
Yeah,
But he does have Elle's best interest at heart and things like that. So
but
he always means well, but he just kind of screws up.
so all right. I want to tread lightly as I bring this up because they've kept this very vague, very ambiguous. They haven't really gone and stated anything in particular. They haven't been real direct or overt about this. But obviously, Will has
The feelings.
the feelings, right?
Yes.
And they don't come out and say anything about his sexual preferences and orientations or anything like that. But it's just so odd to me that Mike can be so singularly focused on himself and Eleven's relationship that he can't notice what his words are saying or how they're affecting Will, who's supposed to be his best friend, who was the one who fought for him the hardest to rescue him in season 1. He's like, no, he's in this upside down. We just got to figure out how to get him. Blah 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 stuff.
Yeah.
So when Will's having this kind of confessional moment where he's saying 11, but he's also saying himself, and
Right.
it just goes right over Mike's head. You just kind of want to slap the kid a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, but like I said, he's kind of a selfish character, and kids are also they are also supposed to still be pretty young,
I
like
know.
they're freshmen in high school, so I don't think freshmen in high school are having that conversation very easily.
No,
So
and trust me, I will be the first to admit that in freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, I was a dipshit. I
aren't we all?
so I do understand. I totally get it. It just is so. I don't know. And maybe that's the reason that sort of like underscores why when Will and Jonathan have their conversation while they're prepping the sensory deprivation tank at the pizza place for
Yeah,
11, why that conversation was so much more impactful, because Jonathan notices that Mike's not really understanding what Will's trying to tell him,
right,
and Jonathan has to be like, you know what, this is also my fault that you have had no one to talk to about these things.
right.
So I did really, really like that sort of bringing the brothers back together again, bringing the Byers brothers back together. I did really like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah, because that's definitely that's a huge driving factor of the first season.
Yeah, yeah, 1,000%. So 1,000%. All right, let's talk. I guess we need to talk about our group in Hawkins, right? Who's getting ready to storm the house. They have the
Yeah.
plan for Vecna. We're talking about Nancy. We're talking about Steve. We're talking about Dustin and Eddie and oh my God, why am I blanking on her name?
The sister,
No, or I'm blanking on her name too. But because
Erica,
Lucas, Erica. Oh my God, and what is Steve's best friend's name?
Robin.
Robin. Thank you. Holy smokes, it just slipped out of my brain. But yeah, they're masterminding the attack plan on Vecna. They got a whole thing lined up. It's ready to go. I really like the way that Nancy sort of takes charge, kind of lays it down. Like, here's what we're doing. Here's the steps. We're not going to do anything until we're ready to do things. Everything's going to be like really methodical.
Yeah.
What did you think, by and large, of that? I mean, obviously, for me, that was my favorite element of the plot. That's the plot that I'm most invested in.
Okay.
Is these guys, storming the castle? They're gonna lure Vecna with Max taking the headphones off. She's
Yeah.
gonna go into the trance. They're gonna try and get Vecna while he's in his trance. Like Dustin makes the metaphor, the comparison. They're like Dracula sleeping in the coffin.
Yes.
Loved all of that. So great. It, it's there's a lot going on in this sequence,
Yeah.
particularly when they're interslicing it with the other stuff going on with the other characters in the other parts of the world.
Yes.
But this is where my focus is the highest, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think
How much of I mean, does
rightfully
this all
so.
work for you? Was there anything you butted up against? Just tell me your feelings going through the sequence with these characters.
I mean, I thought it all worked very well. I think rightfully so that's where the audience's core engagement is supposed to be. That Vecna is the main threat, so we're focused mostly on the group that's dealing with that. Um, and then they get Elle and Mike and them involved in it as well, so those two storylines start to merge.
Yeah. Now, did you
Um,
did you like the whole piggyback thing? The fact
oh,
that
I
Elle,
loved it.
yeah, I thought it was a great way to solve the distance issue.
Yes.
They make that isolation tank for Elle in the back of the Surfer Boy pizza place, and she's able to in possibly, okay. You might know better than me. Possibly the best like psychic mind fight we've ever seen depicted in movies, TV, cinema, whatever.
I don't know, man. Sherlock Holmes too.
Oh, come on, dude. Listen, I love that movie. But like this is why is Stranger Things doing X-Men stuff better than the X-Men movies?
Because the X-Men movies suck.
Exactly, right? But the X-Men movies should have mind fights down to a T by now. They've made 8,000 of those movies and they've never gotten it right.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, they did some good stuff in X2 with there's some kind of like it wasn't like a mind fight, right? But there
I'm
was
talking mind fight. The only mind fight that I thought was even close to this one was the one in Dark City.
I haven't watched Dark City in so
I love
long,
that
so
mind fight. I mean, that was
it's
more of a telekinetic battle, I
yeah,
suppose.
aren't they just like staring at each other with like bubbles shooting out of their forehead?
Yeah, but this was awesome. I mean, this was kind of like the everything, right? And
Yeah.
the way it's all done up, the way it's put together. Max trying to hide in safe memories, Vecna corrupting those memories. Uh, 11 trying to make contact. Meanwhile, like, Max is in the spell. You got Lucas and Jason battling each other around her. Trying to break up the whole thing, and then in perhaps, probably, most likely the greatest thing in the history of Stranger Things, Eddie on top of a mobile home playing Master of Puppets to distract everybody.
I mean, okay.
Come
Let's not
on.
get crazy. I'm not going to say that's the greatest
Come
thing.
on!
No. For one thing, they horribly edited the song.
Okay,
Those were some
didn't.
rough edits,
They
and I
did
was kind
not
of like,
have
couldn't you have
7 minutes to play the song. I'm
Well, that's
sorry.
what I'm saying. Like maybe you could have chosen Battery or something, you
Oh,
know?
well, no. Master of Puppets was the appropriate song for that sequence.
I mean, I get it. I understand the choice of the song, but they horribly edited it and it was noticeable.
So
And
much
when
metal.
when those edits occurred, it took me out of it. I
Oh
was
my God,
like,
you're
ah
nuts.
man,
They're
I'm
not gonna
really
play the
feeling
whole
this.
song.
I'm not asking them to play the whole song, but just play the song, and then when the scene needs to end, you end the song. Like, oh, gotta
No,
run, gotta end this
disagree.
song in the
Wrong.
middle.
Nope. Nope.
Yes,
Nope. You get
yes.
the opening, you get the first verses, and then you get the solo. And again, and it's being juxtaposed against Vecna stalking Max in her memories. You got her dead brother banging through a door. It's awesome.
I don't disagree with you, but they horribly edited the song. They
My
could have found
God,
something else.
you're a fucking asshole right now. I hate you so much.
Sorry,
You're asshole.
sorry. Don't ruin Master of Puppets.
They didn't. Oh,
Mm,
by the way, what's the number one song on iTunes right now? Master of Motherfucking Puppets. A song that's 34 years old.
good. I'm glad people are enjoying it.
And Metallica, they just put out a video of them wearing Hellfire Club t-shirts playing the song. It's awesome.
Right, good for them.
You know who did the guitar track for that, right?
For Stranger Things.
Yeah.
My understanding is the actor played it.
No, it's Trey Trujillo, Robert Trujillo's son,
Oh, okay.
who stepped in to help do the riffs. Joe Quinn knows a little guitar, but he not that much guitar. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So maybe what I was seeing was he just like practiced the moves. So
Yeah, I think Joe Quinn learned how to play it, but I think when it actually comes to making it sound appropriate, you probably had to have like a professional come on board.
yeah.
I don't, I'm not an A&R guy. I don't know.
Hey, can we take a moment?
Why you need me to lighten up off of your Metallica hate? I'm sick of this shit from you.
I'm not hating on Metallica. I'm hating on badly edited Metallica.
Fuck you! All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
Dude, most metal ever!
All right, so I can't let you off the hook completely just yet for the Master Puppet stuff, but because I got to tell you, and I don't know if you did the same thing I did or what, but I didn't. A couple of days before they were releasing these final two episodes, they put out a new trailer, to they needed to convince me to watch the last two episodes.
Right.
So I didn't watch it. I was like, fuck
Me
that, I don't
neither.
want to see anything.
Yeah. No.
Okay, you skipped it too.
Yeah.
All right, because apparently in that trailer there is a shot of Eddie on the camper with the guitar.
Lame.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought too when I heard about this. And apparently, like, the way he was holding the fretboard indicated to some Metallica fans that they were going to play that song.
Okay.
And I found this all out like off of Metallica's like Twitter feed, because I guess fans have been hitting them up since that trailer came out, and they weren't allowed to say anything.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know they were going to have Eddie on a camper playing guitar at all, let alone that it would be Master of Puppets. So
Right.
so when it happened, when it occurred, when the signal is conveyed that they're going into phase 3, and it's time to distract the demo bats, and it's going to be Eddie on top of the camper playing guitar, and when he hits those opening chords of Master of Puppets, my fucking jaw hit the fucking floor. I I lost my mind. I was so fucking pumped, dude.
Oh, I loved it. I'm just saying they very poorly edited the song,
I've
and
watched the
I
sequence.
wish they had done a better
I
job.
have watched the sequence 45 times now, and I have come to accept why they did what they did when they did what they did. They incorporated the songs in the way they needed to for certain shots in particular. I think if you go back and watch it again,
I
you'll kind of
I
see. I
I
think you'll come
get it.
around. I think you'll come around. Just watch it
I
again.
I there's not much to come around on. I like the fact that they used the song. I understand how and why they used the song. I just think those edits were really terrible.
I think you're really terrible right now, and I want you to know
I
that from the
think
bottom of my heart how much I dislike you at the moment.
I think your standards are too low.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Is that a shot at my life in general? Is that what you're saying? Are you firing shots at my entire life right now?
I am only talking about your entertainment choices.
Whoa! That is my life.
Oh, well, sorry.
You son of a bitch. Podcast is over.
Wow.
All right. Well, Mark's clearly in the wrong here. I'm right. It's the greatest moment in the history of Stranger Things. Moving on. But let's talk about Eddie. All right.
Okay.
Eddie runs. Eddie the Banished. As he says towards the beginning of this episode, he and Dustin, they're no heroes, right? But he makes
Right.
his stand. He fights off the demo bats, buys more time for Steve and Nancy and everybody who's storming the house trying to kill Vecna while he's in the trance. I know you and I texted a little bit about it, but are you still feeling like that death wasn't strong enough?
Yeah.
Still feeling it, huh?
Yeah,
The
I
noble
just
sacrifice, you weren't feeling it.
no, not really, because I don't because at that point in time, if I recall correctly, Steve and Nancy and Robin were already being choked out by the vines.
They
I
weren't.
don't think the Demobats were really that much of a threat. I mean, I guess they could have come
There was a
in
lot of them.
and killed them. No, I'm not saying that there wasn't a lot of them, but it just seemed um, like I didn't really think about the bats going to kill Steve and Nancy and Robin. Like I felt like they were already kind of being taken care of, and you know, Vecna wasn't going to sick the bats after
Well,
them.
they had to call the bats away so that Steve and Nancy so they could enter the house.
Right. They just needed a window of opportunity, and they
Right.
had been given that window of opportunity.
Right. But the assumption being that like once the distraction was over, they could just go back to the house and then,
Yeah.
find everybody and pick them apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean the fact that they ended up getting detected by Vecna and choked out by his sentient vines,
Right.
that happens. That happens when you have sentient vines.
You know, but and again, we talked a little bit, texted a little bit about this. It is part of the Stranger Things formula now that they're every season they introduce a new likable character that is basically kind of there to be offed and to get some emotion out of the audience. And um, I completely forgot where I was going with that. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. I mean, I have one example to kind of refute that, and I don't think you're necessarily, wrong completely on this one. I get it. I think there should have been, I think you said in the last episode, like someone kind of needs to pay the price here of the main cast.
Right.
And they didn't do that. Eddie became our sacrificial lamb.
Oh, sorry.
And Eddie, I think for Eddie it was a moment for that character to kind of like rewrite his own reputation, destiny, fate, whatever you want to call it, by making that stand, by sacrificing himself to for the betterment of the group, but also because they pay, and again, you can come after the Duffer Brothers, but they put themselves in a real bind. How do you bring that character back and have him just go about his life? He's still accused of the murder of Chrissy. He's still accused. Now he's accused of running a cult. I mean, if he goes back, if he survives this, his life's gonna be shit. And maybe he partly knows that like, you know what, I'm gonna make the stand that I should have made the first time around, or whatever. Like, not like he could have done anything against Vecna when Vecna was killing Chrissy, but he goes out on his own terms, and I choose to respect that.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but
But
that is kind of my problem. That's what I was going to say is that that was my problem with it was it felt like they had just written themselves into a corner with the character where it was like, oh, well, we can't really bring him back because he's accused of murder and people aren't going to believe this crazy story that he tells. But I refute that because of the way the season ends. It looks like the people in Hawkins are going to be exposed to the upside down and all the kind of craziness that everyone's been going through. And so there might have still been a chance for Eddie to clear his name. So I'm just not sure how necessary it was outside
I
of being a tearjerker.
I agree, and obviously it made me sad. But the what I would use as an example to sort of refute the idea that they introduce these new characters just to kill them off, so they don't have to kill the main cast, is Robin. Because I was terrified for Robin in season 3. I was like, I love this character, and they're gonna off her. She's gonna die at the fucking mall, and somehow she lived to see another day. And I was sort of had hoped. Obviously, I made my declaration of love for Eddie the last time we talked about this. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't know how they get themselves out of the corner they painted themselves into. Now, granted, they could have put Eddie out in the woods with Hopper and 11 and maybe figured something out. And maybe there's still a way. Maybe there's something else going on that we don't know about. But the show does have a bit of a problem with his refusal to kill his main characters.
So, but to refute your refutation, also remember,
I refute your refuting.
it seems as though that for one lovable character that they kill, there's also one lovable character that they leave alive, because in season 2 they also introduced Max, who they left alive in season 2 while they killed Bob Newby. So in season 3 they introduced Robin, they keep Robin alive, but they killed Alexei.
I don't remember Alexei. That's the problem. I know they talked about that in the article I sent you from Collider, and I was like, who the fuck was Alexei?
Alexei was awesome. He was the Russian scientist.
Oh, that sounds a little
built
familiar.
the key, built the key to open the gate beneath the Starcourt Mall.
Okay, that sounds a little familiar. I gotta rewatch this fucking show.
And he's so great. He's so great in that role. And yeah, when he dies, it really sucks. It's like he's happy. He just won his stuffed Woody Woodpecker at the carnival. You think he's going to have a nice life in America.
So what you're saying is that we lose Eddie, but we gain Yuri? Is that what you're pitching to me, Mark? I'm not buying it. I don't care about the peanut butter smuggler. Fuck that guy.
Yuri or Anton.
Did Anton? But did either of these characters come to America though? I don't think they weren't in Hawkins at the end.
Yeah, I don't know, but I also feel like we're not done with the Russia connection. So
Yeah,
I very much think at least one of them could be in season 5. But actually, I wouldn't make that illusion. We get, unfortunately, the very unlovable Argyle.
Oh, that's right. We got Argyle. Argyle survives. Hey,
Argyle sucks.
all right, and let's talk real quickly about Argyle because I want to say that he has perhaps the greatest offense in the history of Stranger Things. He perpetuates this lie that ham and pineapple is a good pizza, and I will not tolerate that kind of nonsense in my Stranger Things. I'm just gonna say it.
That is the truth. And you know who doesn't like ham and pineapple pizza? Mike. You know who's unlikable? Mike.
So you're saying I'm Mike?
You're Mike. You're
Fuck
Mike in
you.
this situation.
Fuck you. You're all wrong. It doesn't matter.
It's brilliant. Ham Hawaiian pizza is the bomb.
Ugh, you and Janine can go have all the fucking ham and pineapple pizza you can handle.
I know it's the main reason why I like visiting you. It's the
I
one time I get Hawaiian pizza.
I tease my wife all the time that our relationship is built on a lie because I spent like the first year of our relationship eating ham and pineapple pizza and pretending I liked it.
Oh, well, see, that's your problem, is that you were forcing yourself to do it. You didn't allow yourself to, like, appreciate it.
Well, I thought that if I did it enough, I would earn some goodwill, and she'd have like a pepperoni pizza once in a while, and that never happened. So,
Well, and
eventually it was like, get out of here, with your ham and pineapple. I'm done.
it's a two-way street. Reciprocation is the foundation, or part of the foundation of any relationship. So, yeah, she should be willing to not have that.
Well, eventually,
That's
every
why
now
people
and then.
listen. Relationship advice
Yeah, not what we should be doling out
from
ever.
a man who is not good at relationships.
Are you talking about me or you?
I'm talking about me.
That's all right. I could be talking about me too. Who
Hey,
cares?
you're. We're not. Let's not get into it.
Why? She's not listening.
No, I was just gonna say you have been married for almost 10 years. I think you're doing fine.
Well, I'm just easygoing, It's fine. I'm just very go with the flow. Like,
You are.
whatever.
You are.
And then I have to watch Stranger Things alone in the middle of the night by myself. So there you go.
I mean, me too. So what? Especially when they're an hour and a half long.
Oh my goodness. Let me share. Since you brought that up, let me for the record, I want to share how I watched these final two episodes because I was I was gonna go on an internet social media blackout until I finished the show. I was not gonna go on the internet at all. I didn't want to
Okay.
risk any sort of spoilers for these final two episodes.
Yeah.
And so my work schedule had been sort of altered that week, and it sort of worked in my favor that I ended up being off. I think I was off. My day off was like that Thursday or whatever. So I was like, oh well, I'll get a bunch of shit done during the day, and what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to bed early on Thursday. I'm gonna get up at 2:45 in the morning to
Oh my
watch
God.
episode 8 before I go to work. And that's the other element of the story too, is that I got my work schedule changed for that Friday where they let me come in like early so I could come home early. So I was off at like 1:00 or whatever like that. So I was like, okay, cool. Now that that's in place, I'm gonna get up at 2:45. I'm gonna watch episode 8 before I go to work because I had Googled to see what the runtime was gonna be on the episodes. I was like, I'll get up, watch episode 8, go to work at 5, golden. All right, and then I'm gonna come home 1:00, walk the dogs, get my shit together, have a little energy drink so I don't fall asleep, and then I'm watching 2 hours and 20 minutes of episode 9. I'm gonna crush this baby on that Friday, and that's exactly what happened, and it was glorious.
Good job.
Hey, gotta have goals. Gotta have goals, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now that that's said, let's get to the sort of the heart, the main conflict. What we've been waiting for. Again, Vecna is haunting Max. He's coming after. He's corrupting her memories. He's on the verge of killing her. He's got her up against the wall in the corrupted memory of the snowball dance that they went to in season 2 or whatever it was.
Season 2.
Season 2. And then, just as we were like, oh my God, Max is about to get it, Vecna, thrown back, held up in air, in his Jesus Christ pose, and 11 enters the stage, and now we got it. 11 versus 1, the rematch that we've all been waiting for. since episode 7.
Yeah.
I loved all of this so much. Talk to me about it, Mark. How did it work for you? How did it affect you? Give me what was going on in your heart, in your mind, all at
I
the
mean,
same time.
I thought it was great. Very entertaining, considering that it's really just two people staring at each other, throwing each other around for a little while, but they somehow made it very entertaining.
Oh, it's fantastic. I loved it so much. It was it was great. Again, the sort of battle you would expect to see in a movie like the X-Men, but you
Yeah,
never have. You get it in this, and
yeah,
it's wonderful. It's glorious. It's well executed. Looks fantastic. I know Stranger Things has a massive budget nowadays, but this show always looked good, even from day one when they didn't have the massive budget. But
right.
they use every penny so well
Yeah.
in this show that to me I believe everything that is happening. I'm like, yep, that's what it would be like to have a mind fight. Like, here we go, let's do this.
I mean, it was just sure, I guess.
But all the moments, the back and forth between the two characters, Vecna eventually will gain the upper hand. He's gonna try and kill Max again. He's gonna make 11 watch. Let's sort of talk about, I guess, like the big reveal, right? That Vecna doesn't work for the Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer works for Vecna. Vecna's sort of been the guy behind it all since day one.
Right.
How does that work for you? Do you buy it? Does it jive? Does it make sense? Kind of talk me through your feelings on that.
Um, does it make sense? Yeah. Um, I was a little disappointed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like it's not that I don't like it. It's cool. Um, but I liked the idea that they were coming up against this otherworldly dominating intelligence, like a Cthulhu type thing. And it's like, oh, it's just this guy who was banished to another realm and he has mind powers. Okay.
Well, I mean, he finds the Demigorgons and he finds what we call the Mind Flayer and all these different
Right.
beings in this dimension. I
Yeah.
love that sequence as he's kind of talking about him becoming an explorer in this new realm that he's in.
Straight
Uh,
out
be,
of Hellraiser.
right, because it's very much, he's walking through this world and it's not the Upside Down that we know.
Right.
And I'm hoping that in season 5 we'll get some clarity or some explanation, or if it's some kind of like psychic bleed through from the dimensions kind of intersecting with each other at a certain point. Because I still want to know how the Upside Down looks like that, or why, or if that's some sort of Vecna influence. Do you have
Yeah, I was thinking either Vecna created it that way, like
kind of
designed
like
it that
reshaped it?
way intentionally, or that because there's definitely the mind flare has like some it's alive, so it has some kind of intelligence. So in creating this symbiosis that it seems to have with Vecna, did it kind of infiltrate his memories and kind of from that reshape the upside down to kind of match that?
Yeah, I sort of wonder because Vecna talks about at this point in the episode, it's revealed that like Vecna's plan is the 4 kills, 4 chimes of the bell on his clock, the 4 portals, and that's gonna like allow the Upside Down to come to Earth, basically, right? And
Yeah,
Vecna talks about reshaping Earth, like reality as we know it. And so I sort of wonder if the Upside Down was like an experiment of sorts with him with his new power of sort of like warping and reshaping reality. And now that he sort of has mastered that in the Upside Down, he's going to take it to our reality, our dimension, and put it
sure.
into effect. They're
Yeah,
they're they're real vague with a lot of things,
yeah,
but there's got to be a reason. And we talked about it last time. We didn't get the answer for why the Upside Down is 1983 Hawkins and not sort of moving
right.
in a linear fashion through time. It's obviously Vecna gleaned something in '83 when Eleven opened the portal again, and that's what bled through or whatever. I don't know. I'm hoping we'll get a little bit more clarity on all that, but it seems like Vecna might have the ability to again sort of shape reality in a sense.
Yes, I agree
With the mind
with
flayer, I think he needs the mind flayer to do these things.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm agreeing with a lot of what you're saying, but because like yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I'm not sure that it makes sense if it's just sort of Vecna reshaping the world because like how would he really know what Hawkins was like in 1983? Like
Well,
yeah,
that's
the
why I thought it was
gate
like
was
a psychic bleed through or something like that, or like he's connecting to the victims or something. And again, I need an explanation.
but
But
what he's not connecting to anybody back then. Like when we first see the Upside Down in season one, it's already a carbon copy,
well,
just
no,
a
and like
twisted version.
no, don't get me wrong. The Duffer Brothers have to kind of course correct their show in a sense. Is like they've established this, but they have to give me the reason why.
Right, and that's the thing. I'm wondering if the sort of time distortion is going to be an element in the next season
Yeah.
that the characters exploit. Because yeah, they did not address that at all. And as I said the last time we talked about this, I certainly hope it's not something that they just drop simply because they needed there to be a reason for there not to be guns in Nancy's room.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a little worried that that might be what it is.
No, no, I feel like at this point, like they know their end game, and they're just making they're putting the dots together. They're getting their ducks in a row. Whatever expression you want to use, and I think we'll get there. Like I feel like they wouldn't have done this. I choose to believe they wouldn't have done this if they weren't going to have an explanation for down the road.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the show um, has done an incredibly good job. Has always done an incredibly good job of like bringing together storylines and elements and whatnot. So yeah, that does give me hope that they will incorporate it. But you know, you never know.
All right, so I want to get to sort of the for like 5 whole seconds the presumed demise of Vecna, right? So we got Mike, yelling, talking to 11 while she's in the deprivation tank, while she's in being held captive in the psychic realm, if you will, where Vecna's trying to kill Max. I mean, it's a whole thing. Like, if you're not watching the
Yes.
episodes, I don't know how to paint this picture because it's kind of crazy. But Mike's doing the confession, the whole like I love you thing. You need to keep fighting. You can't give up now. It's time to fight, save our friends because Max is about to get killed. Now, Mike doesn't know that, but
Right.
Eleven's watching as Vecna's putting the moves on. Got the hands up over the head of Max. She's all floating up in the house in real life. All the bad things are happening. Um, Again, there's so many elements that are coming together here, and then you also have back in Russia. This is when you have Hopper fighting the Demigorgon, and the other Demigorgon's
Right.
getting burned to a crisp. So Vecna's getting he's about to get assaulted on multiple fronts here without even really realizing it's happening.
Yes.
Um, but talk to me about let's address Max first, right? She's back in the trance. She's in the spell. She's getting her limbs broken, which I was flipping out about. I was like, oh my god, thinking that he was actually going to kill her because it was goddamn close.
Well, I mean, he did.
Technically, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. How do you walk through that sequence? I mean, there's just so much happening, and then as Vecna's killing Max, Eleven's getting free, and next thing you know, the screen goes black, and then it cuts back, and Vecna's flying back 1,000 feet against the wall, and it's
Right.
awesome. It's awesome, but Max is fucked up at this point, but Eleven's showing off the power, right? He's about to crush him and give her
Right.
friends the chance because now Vecna, she's not just hitting Vecna like in the psychic realm. She's hitting him so hard that it's weakening him in reality at the same time, because of what's going on in Russia and what's about to happen in the house in the Upside Down with Nancy, Robin, and Steve. So it's all coming together. It's all happening. She's buying her friends a chance because that punch that she throws that knocks him back 2,000 feet or whatever the hell it was gets the vines off of everybody in the house. So Robin, Steve,
Right.
and Nancy are able to proceed with their plan to kill Vecna while he's in the trance. I'm talking a mile a minute here, but like, tell me how this plays for you. Like, are you in? Are you on the edge of your seat like I was? I mean, this was intense. I loved this all so much.
I loved it. I think they did a great job of cutting back and forth and choosing the right moments and beats to like where to place the cuts. And again, just like how everything was shot. I could not help but to think that when Nancy was shooting Vecna with her shotgun, that she should have listened to Jason and gone with the more powerful 357.
So, okay, you brought it up. I love the sequence. You know, again, you got Hopper in Russia killing demigorgons. You got 11 laying down the badness in the psychic realm, and Nancy, Steve, and Robin in the Upside Down with Vecna in the trance, right? And
Yes.
as great as a visual effect as it is of Robin and Steve hurling Molotov cocktails at Vecna's body and lighting him on fire, I can't help but question why.
Why? What?
Vecna has been punched so hard by 11 that all the psychic vines have retreated from the house. You now have carte blanche to walk up to Vecna with your shotgun and Kurt Cobain that motherfucker.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't quite. And again, I know it's the storytelling aspects. They're like, oh, well, we got season 5 to do. We can't kill Vecna yet. But it's just like, why don't you walk up to Vecna, put that shotgun under his fucking chin, and blow his fucking brains out? It's a little hard to swallow, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. It's the one sort of big crack where I'm just like, they could have ended this just by closing the distance.
What do you mean closing the distance?
Again, they could have walked. They legitimately could have walked to his body, hanging there in the attic, and put the gun in his mouth.
Yeah.
You did
Well,
not.
I mean, maybe they thought that would bring him out of the trance or something.
I mean, maybe the only way I sort of rationalized it was there was an element of fear, like.
Well, there's an element of fear. Plus, the other thing about it is that, like everything in the Upside Down, the Demigorgons are like they hate fire. So hit him with the Molotov cocktails first. Maybe is what they're thinking.
His flesh is pretty desiccated as it is. I don't know how well desiccated flesh burns. So,
I mean, everything seems to burn in the Upside Down. I don't, you know.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, like Nancy was so convinced 4 episodes ago that if we had some guns in the Upside Down, I'd bring the thunder. And it's
Yeah,
like,
but I think the thing about Nancy is we learned she doesn't know much about guns. She knows how to use them, but maybe she ought to learn about calibers and things of that sort.
I mean, again, like I said, you had the boomstick in your hands. All you had to do was put it under his chin, and problem solved.
I mean, you
I'm
could just
saying.
end up with an arse face situation. You put the gun in the mouth, just like his dad told him.
You're right. You're right. I appreciate that correction. You. No, wait. I thought Arseface did put it in his mouth.
No, he put it under his chin, and that's how he only blew off his face. And it was his dad, the cop, who told him, "It's like you should have put the gun in your mouth, you idiot."
Okay. All right. I'll take your word for it on that one. I do not remember Preacher Volume 1 that well at the moment.
How could you forget that?
I mean, I remember it. I just remember the finer details.
I don't know why, but for some reason, like just that dialogue and like the framing of the comic book itself, I just ingrained in my memory.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to be thematically accurate, what you would have done is you would have given Nancy, Robin, or Steve a Conan sword, and they just would have cut off Vecna's head. That would have been pretty effective too.
I mean, Steve had an axe.
Why does Steve have his bat with the nails in it? What happened?
That's a good question. I don't
Like that was like his signature weapon in season 1 and 2, and now it's gone. Did it get destroyed and I forgot?
I don't think it did. No, because yeah, he has it with him in season 2 when they go into the tunnels. I don't recall him losing it.
Yeah, because like that was a great moment in season 2 when he opens the trunk and pulls that out. And you're like, oh shit, he's got the bat.
I didn't exclaim it like that, but
You're not quite as emotional as I am when I watch these shows.
no, I'm not.
So yeah, I have some criticisms of the attack plan that the gang, the Scooby Gang, came up with to deal with
Yeah,
Vecna. Because then it shifts into a very Michael Myers scenario. Vecna's on fire. He's getting shotgun shots in the abdomen, never in the face. I'm like, okay,
right.
I get it, center mass, but Jesus, it's a supernatural being, for God's sake. Just shoot him in the fucking face. And then he
Yeah,
falls out the window, very Michael Myers style. And I said, they're going to go down the stairs and he's not going to be there. And I'm going to
right.
be sort of annoyed.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
exactly what happened.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. You know,
So a season that was very heavy on Friday the 13th. I'm sorry, the Nightmare on Elm Street, visuals and sort of, homages now ends with a Michael Myers one, a little Halloween homage at the end.
yeah. I mean, they do like their Halloween. They use the
Yeah.
Michael Myers
The Michael
mask
Myers
again,
mask.
and
Yeah, Max's Michael
yeah,
Myers mask returns so that Eddie can steal that
yeah,
RV.
yeah. Which kind of that was something. You know, I was like, that wasn't really necessary.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
It just was
Again,
a callback. It was a callback.
it was a callback and kind of one of those like nostalgia things that it's one of the few things about the show that not that I don't like, but kind of rubs against me. It's like, that was
I
for
mean,
no reason other than ooh, nostalgia, fan service.
yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of is like he didn't want some neighbor to see him and then call the cops. But I mean, like you're stealing an RV, they're gonna call. Someone's calling the cops in a minute, anyways.
You're stealing an RV and no one's paying attention. Like there's no one in this RV park.
No, I mean, like again, it's a rundown motorhome full of people probably living off like workers' comp or whatever, and it's 10 in the morning or whatever, and they're probably already drunk off their asses off the cheapest bottle of vodka they can find.
Sure.
I'm stereotyping and generalizing,
Yes, you are.
and maybe that's inappropriate of me,
Wow.
but I think that's exactly what they're depicting in that trailer park.
Yes, it is.
See, okay, there it is.
That's what they were doing. They were watching TV at whatever time of day that was.
It looked like the morning, but what do I know? The time is nebulous in Stranger Things land.
Yeah, it could have just been cloudy.
I mean, they need that RV to go to the war zone.
That's right.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll wrap this puppy up. What do you say?
Okie doke.
All right. All right, so let's talk about the sort of the aftermath of Vecna, right? 11 does her thing, breaks the spell. Max comes back down, but again, broken limbs, blinded, bleeding from the eyes, only to eventually die in Lucas's arms.
Yes.
And that sort of begins the Vecna prophecy, I guess, if you will, with the 4 deaths, the 4 portals, and then these, like, I don't know, what do you want to call them? Just like fault lines erupting from the portals into Hawkins, right?
It's just the 4 different gates expanding
Okay.
and then meeting in the center.
Yeah, and like so catastrophe falls on Hawkins, Indiana.
Yeah.
And we don't really see much of the aftermath of it, but we see that sort of like we didn't talk about it, but at the very beginning of episode 8, Vecna kind of showing this prophecy to Nancy,
Yes.
and we didn't know how the hows or whys, but it's sort of coming true, and maybe not in the way that Vecna planned, but at least that part is. So I want to ask you, did Vecna foresee this?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, he showed Nancy the future, basically, and
Yes.
she saw these things, and she saw these elements, and basically like the upside down invading Hawkins, and this
Right.
seems to be the first step with these this sort of like a crossroads of
Yeah.
fissures.
Yes.
But do you think I guess was Vecna fighting 11 part of this? Like, I mean, Vecna called this the beginning of the end.
Right.
So has this all been anticipated? Do they now have to find a way to fight fate or fight destiny? Like, is Vecna ahead of the curve?
I
That's a,
mean,
that's a tough question. I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm gonna say yes because you're saying it's like a prophecy. I didn't take it as a prophecy so much as this is just Vecna's plan, and this is what he wants to do, and that's what he showed Nancy.
Hmm.
Not that it was any kind of like prophecy.
Well, okay, but maybe prophecy is not the word I should have used. But again, this is what he showed her. This is what they were trying to prevent by killing him, by getting him in the
Right.
trance and all these things. I mean, this is what spurred everything forward.
Yes.
I guess I just want. It didn't seem like Vecna counted on 11, but it all still comes to fruition. So, I guess we will see what the ramifications are moving forward on our own. Um, how did you feel about 11 though, saving Max?
I'm not the biggest fan of it
Okay.
because I don't think you can have 11 out there running around just resurrecting people. Now, she didn't really resurrect her in uh, a great way.
Yeah,
But
there's
yeah,
some
I'm
really.
just not that huge of a fan of it.
Mhm.
She kind of, in the words of Anakin Skywalker, learned to stop people from dying.
Well, but did she though? I guess it's sort of the question because while her body lives on due to 11, whatever 11 does to get her heart going again, when she goes into like that psychic realm, Max isn't there.
Right.
So it's sort of like, is the body alive, but the soul and the spirit gone? Is the person gone? So like, we're sort of left in that sort of ambiguous state.
Right.
And it was Max's, death for that minute that she was dead that triggered the, I don't know, convergence or whatever you want to call it between the Upside
Right.
Down and Hawkins, where the gates all opened and these giant fissures that are by the normies called earthquakes in Hawkins.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about how how the show kind of ends because there's not a lot of explanation for anything, and I think it's by design. Again, I sort of wonder how much of this is like Vecna knew, how much of this did he anticipate, but I don't think he anticipated 11. I don't think he anticipated sort of being thwarted,
No.
and the gates are open, but his plan hasn't not come to fruition just yet. He's, as Will
Right.
tells us, once he senses him. Once Will's back in Hawkins, how he can kind of feel him.
Right.
Again, coinciding with the revelation that it's always been Vecna since day one. Will now realizes that I felt him in my mind. I know what he thinks. I know how he thinks. So I don't think Vecna was prepared for it to happen this way necessarily, but it still happened.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess does it sort of like even the playing field in a sense for them all? Like the decks are cleared. Like Vecna got this far, but no further.
I mean,
We're speculating. Don't worry. You can say whatever you want at this point. Like
no, I'm
we
just,
have no
I don't know.
answers.
I think you're overthinking it. I feel
Okay,
like,
that's possible.
I just feel like he won.
Okay.
Like he got what he wanted. Is it a little delayed because yeah, he received some interference, but at the end of the day, he survived and he's going to do something. The Upside Down invade the real Hawkins. Like yeah, he still has to contend with L, but like I think he thought she was either out of the way or that he would be able to get her out of the way. But more or less, he won. He kind of accomplished his goal.
Yeah, they were sort of like we talked about with Nancy and Steve and Robin in the Upside Down when they're attacking Vecna when he's in his most vulnerable. I feel like there should have been a moment before Vecna flipped the window where he's like, "You should have aimed for the head," and he should have gave some Thanos wisdom to these guys because it's like Jesus Christ, could have solved all these problems if he just had done a fucking aim for the head.
Right.
Uh,
But
so
again, she had sawed off that shotgun. It's a wide spread. Even if she had aimed for the head, I'm not sure that would have killed him.
I mean, you're not wrong. Steve with the 357 makes a lot more sense. But again, a shotgun in the mouth would have just been fine as well.
Yeah, but you put it in his mouth, it might wake him up, and then you're in trouble.
Well, that's why you get a double barrel. You can just fire twice. But okay, different, different problems. Okay, so aside from sort of like the looming threat to Hawkins, with people pouring out of the town, they're leaving. The news reports that the town is cursed. It's the gateway to hell's been opened. All the the hyperbole, it's all there. It's all right on. It does sort of end with a nice note though, with all the characters kind of coming together, reuniting. Eleven and Hopper, Joyce and her kids. It all comes together really nicely, I think, at the very end. And then they tease us, by with the that upside down ashiness kind of falling from the sky.
Yeah.
But how did the emotional reunions work for you? Pretty good?
Yeah. No, I liked it.
Let me ask you about this one. Because a lot of this season is Steve talking to Nancy and kind of not necessarily like pitching her on the idea that he's changed, but kind of sort of pitching her on the idea that he's changed. He's a changed man. He's a better man than he was when they broke up years ago.
Yeah.
And then she gets back together with Jonathan when he comes to town, and it's like nothing really happened. How did that work for you, that sort of the dynamic? I mean, it wasn't like a romantic thing. They never did anything. There was never any... It was all very vague, as they like to do on the show. They kept the distance.
They definitely teased that they have feelings for each other.
Yeah, and then, in the first half of the season, like Jonathan's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what this is going to work, blah, blah, blah. But did you chafe against any of it? Did any of it rub you the wrong way?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, I don't know. I don't, I guess it did in the sense of like, I don't really care about a love triangle between Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
I would just have, I feel like it was actually important for Steve's growth to move on from Nancy. So
Right.
I'm kind of like, we don't need this. And so obviously, I feel like they will continue, they'll resolve it somehow in the next season. I don't, I mean, whatever happens, happens. I'm not like on team so and so or team this guy, but ultimately I would just leave it be Nancy and Jonathan. They've made a good team for 3 seasons.
Well, see, that was sort of the thing I wanted to ask you about, because you have watched the seasons more recently than I have. I mean, I feel like Steve has been the character that has sort of been developed better, and Jonathan's kind of been pushed to the side. But you're saying that Jonathan and Nancy works for you. That's sort of like the fit.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they make a good team together. In season season 1 they get together, but not at the end. At the end, she's still with Steve. And so then season 2, she gets together with Jonathan. So you kind of have the formation of that relationship, and he's helping her with her investigation into what's going on at the Hawkins lab. And then in season 3, kind of a similar thing. He's helping her with her investigation as to what's going on with like the rabid rats and the missing fertilizer and stuff like that. And it's like yeah, these two make a good team together. They argue, they have their differences, but they work well together. She's the reporter, he's the photographer. It just kind of fits.
Yeah.
All
right. So let's kind of, let me sort of bring up one more thing. At the end of episode 8, when 11 is escaping the lab, that's sort of the last time we see and hear from the military, that wants to kill her. They blame her for everything that's going on. Now, you would think that they would know that they're going back to Hawkins. There's bad things happening there. Is the military aspect of the story done? Like, do we think that these characters think they're safe now? Or like, what's what's your sort of read on the military thing? Is it going to get dropped? Is there still an angle to pursue here? How are you, or are they just now distracted by these gates that are now open?
I mean, I think they're distracted, but by no means has the military angle dropped. I think we'll see the Sullivan character come back next season. He will probably meet some sort of horrible demise, or maybe he'll be turned and finally see he's been a jackass and will do something right.
Well, that's sort of the thing we have to wonder now, right? Because now the stakes are for season 5, the final season of Stranger Things, whenever it happens,
As far as we know.
yeah, are exponentially higher. Like you said, like the town now has to sort of become aware that there's about to be an invasion of creatures from another dimension. Like they're not going to be able to kind of shush this away, right? Or do you think it's going to still stay between these characters?
I mean, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
I lean towards thinking that yes, there's going another dimension is slowly invading ours, and that's going to be the focus of the next season. But I'm not 100% sure, because the I think the Duffer Brothers, like every season, they kind of like defy sort of like my expectation as to what the next season will be, and I feel like it always starts a bit smaller than I expect. Um, so yeah, yeah, it's just hard to say. I'm just very nervous going into season 5 because when you start dealing with like invasions and stuff like that, I don't know. It can get really bad and really hokey. So I'm a little bit nervous as to how it's going to play out. Like I don't want to see hordes of demogorgons charging at like townsfolk with shotguns and pitchforks and they clash in the middle of a battlefield. If I see that, I'm gonna scream.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I hate that.
What if they'd go for like more of like a Gremlins approach? Where it's like a series of random accidents have occurred, and and
Oh,
and
I mean,
Mr.
I
Futterman's tractor
guess.
gets crashed into his house. It's gonna be like, oh, I can't believe this is happening right now.
I mean, look, that would be better, but it would defy credulity that these strange accidents would be happening and people wouldn't be like, it probably has something to do with that giant hellmouth that opened in the middle of the town.
It's a Kentucky Harvester. There you go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
so the next question I have, like, this series has progressed really nicely through the 80s. This season was 1986.
Yes.
Do we go to 89? Do we close the decade, or do we pick up right where we left off?
I mean, I feel like they have to pick up right where they left off. If not right where they left off, then not far after it. But I was thinking that at the beginning of the season, like, oh, maybe they'll jump ahead again. Also because of the aging of the cast, like maybe they should jump ahead several years and age them up, and maybe we can end this around like New Year's time, 89, 90, and that's how they close out a show that has been so heavy on 80s nostalgia. Um, yeah, but yeah, I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, that's sort of my question. Um, at the end of this episode, I'm like, it feels like it needs to. It felt to me like it needed to pick up where it left off, like immediately. But as far as I know, they're not. They haven't written the episodes. They're not filming anything. So it has to move forward in time because like these, yeah, I mean these characters are aging way too quickly. The actors, I should say, are aging way too quickly. So these gates, these fissures, they must lay dormant for a certain amount of time. And yeah, I think you're I think you're on the right track here with like we go to like 89 and we close out the decade.
Right.
And then like we joked last episode, it's 89 Batman to save the day.
Great. It's just what I always wanted.
I made you. You made me first, Mark. I say it again, just to emphasize.
I mean, yeah, that could be dialogue between Elle and Vecna.
Yeah, yeah. Boom! We just did it. We cracked the code. Duffers, call us. We're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like it's sort of inevitable. As much as I think it makes sense to pick up right where they started, because they're not filming the seasons back to back, like because season 5 wasn't ready to go right away, the time jump to 88, 89 has to be the most reasonable. Which again seems strange that these guys can just move about their lives, even though there's these giant fissures in their hometown. But you
Well,
know,
I mean, again, I'm saying I don't think they're going to do the time jump. I think they're going to pick it up close to where they left off
I
here.
don't think visually it'll work. These kids are like, have you seen Millie Bobby Brown lately?
Yes.
She does not look like a 14-year-old girl anymore. I'm
No,
sorry.
she does. No, none of them look like a 14-year-old anything.
Jonathan's a
You know,
45-year-old man.
I was shocked when I saw how young he actually was. So I was
I think he's doing some hard living. I don't know. I don't know for sure though.
smoking a pack a day, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe he's the new Marlboro man.
Good for him. Good. Um, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. I think they should, but
I don't know.
I
We'll
mean,
we'll, we'll see. I mean,
how do you
you
write
and
that? How do you write that into the
yeah,
story?
you and I
That
are at this point. Like, we are speculating wildly. This is the part of the show where it's just like whatever, because we got no answers for you. There's nothing out there. Supposedly they're going to start writing these episodes next month. The Duffers say they know how it ends,
okay.
but they you know the season 5 is not written at this point. They just know how the show's going to wrap up.
Yeah.
You know, so and we got a lot of characters, we got a lot of things to solve. We still have some questions to be answered. But you know, as we've said this entire time, we are here for the ride. We love this show. We are huge advocates for it. We have a blast watching it. We have a blast rewatching it. And you know, even when it might trip a little bit, or it might have a moment or two where you're like, I don't know about that. It's still just a really well executed, really well done show. Would you not
Yeah.
agree?
No, like that's why I say, like I have complaints, but I mean that's why I say I loved it. I just thoroughly enjoyed watching the show.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of a single show that doesn't have like a nit to pick if you wanted to really go after it. But by and large, even when the show has stumbled like a couple times, like I said, I think the show had most of its stumbles in season 2, but it was a really enjoyable season. Um, season 3, season 4 have been slam dunk, home run, grand slams, whatever you want to say, whatever sports analogy you want.
I'll tell you what.
Touchdown, grand, what? Yeah,
I think seasons 2 and 3 are real mixed bags.
really.
Like rewatching season 3 really confirmed something for me because my first experience with season 3 was like I remember I almost stopped watching it after the second episode. I was like, what in the fuck? And same thing, going rewatching it. I was like the stuff with Hopper, it's so cartoonish and over the top. It's almost unbearable. I was
Oh,
like,
like
oh
him
my,
as like the overbearing dad kind of thing.
the overbearing dad, and they play so much for comedy throughout the whole show. But once you get to like the third episode and things start to pick up with like the main story, um, it all kind of becomes more bearable, and they play less and less for comedy. But they play so much for comedy in season 3, and I just feel like so much of it just is like, ugh.
I mean, I
I don't
remember
hate
the
that.
overbearing dad thing not being my favorite element of season 3, but the relationship dynamics had sort of changed in a way in season 3 that I enjoyed so much. Like
Right.
particularly like Steve and Dustin, and then Steve and
Yeah.
Robin. Like that for me, I would watch season 3 over and over again just to watch those characters interact with each other, because like that was to me glorious.
Well, I mean, Steve and Dustin, their dynamic first started in season 2.
I know, but it's a different level in 3 though. When you know when they're when Steve's working at the ice cream parlor, and the whole thing at the mall, like it's To me, that's a
I
different level.
I love the stuff at the mall, but I also really love like season two when they first start getting to know each other and hanging out with each other, and Steve recommends to him the Farrah Fawcett hairspray. It's really good stuff.
When they're high and they're watching Back to the Future in season 3, you're like,
Very
is that
good.
guy trying to have sex with his mom?
Yep. Yep. It's great stuff. Really good stuff.
So it's so good. Season 3 is spectacular in so many ways, and maybe it is a bit more comedic. But again, you have your boyfriend, Max's brother, who you love so much.
I I love Billy Hargrove. That character is fucking great, and I
Lifeguard at
think
the pool, having sex with all those milfs. I mean, like,
I think
how
I
many
think
marriages does Billy Hargrove destroy in the town of Hawkins? That's the real question for the
as far
show.
as I know, none.
As far as you know, but just because they weren't
But
central characters on the show.
I just think Dacre Montgomery did such a good job with that role. I think he's a really great to watch
You know what?
in seasons 2 and 3.
So let me ask you a question. You're more of a film guy than I am by far. You know more of the tricks of the trade and things like that. But like they brought him back to be in 4, right? Like that's him, right?
Yeah.
Because like there's a couple of shots in the first half of the season, particularly like the Dear Billy episode, where I'm like, oh, they maybe could have done like some VFX or whatever, and maybe it's not really him. But in this half, and particularly in the finale in episode 9, I'm like, oh, there's no doubt that's him. He came back with a mullet and everything. All
What
right,
are you
right?
talking about? No, I just remember them showing flashbacks to season 3.
In episode 9,
Yeah.
when he's in the when he's like trying to bust in that door. I guess that's true. You're right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because right,
Okay, so
they
he doesn't
cut
come
to,
back. They reincorporate that footage. They just kind of did it differently. Okay.
of the sauna test, right?
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, but they did. I'm pretty sure that was him. They got him back for episode
For the
4
Dear
of
Billy
season
episode.
4,
Okay.
The Dear Billy episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I was sort of wondering about that. I sort of wondered if they were going to do that, if that was actually him, or if they were using extra footage, or some of the other tricks that they do nowadays.
Yeah, no, pretty sure that they got him back. I'd stand like 99.9% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. That mullet is glorious. That is a Patrick
It's
Swayze
glorious.
level style mullet. He's
Yeah.
Roadhouse. He should be in the new
He-
Roadhouse.
Okay. Only if he can be Billy Hargrove.
Oh. Hey man, pain don't hurt.
That's right.
Polar bear fell on me. That's right. I remember that fucking movie.
Good on you.
All right, Mark. So since you've rewatched it most recently, I will ask you to rank the 4 seasons of Stranger Things.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 1, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, that sounds solid to me.
Yeah, I think when I think back on season 4, they really got. It was a bit of a course correct, I think, in a lot of ways, because in the last time we talked about this, I complained about the humor in season 4, and I do think, and especially with Murray, like there's just a little too much of it. But I mean, rewatching 3 again and seeing how much of it is how much they play for humor in season 3, this was kind of a big course correct and kind of getting back more towards the roots of season 1 of this is a primarily a horror science fiction
Hmm.
show. I think they did a good job of kind of getting back to that. So I think for me 1 is still the gold standard, but I think 4 was great. 3 is awesome. I just don't like the added humor, but it's got a really great original story to it. I think with the whole like Russians been with a secret lab beneath the mall. I
Yeah.
love it, and season 2 is great. I think season 2 is great. I've said I think it's much maligned, but it is a bit meandering and kind of the same thing as the first one, and you know that punk rock episode is a little rough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I am overdue for a rewatch of the entire series. I did rewatch 4, leading into this,
The whole
and
thing, or just one,
no,
two?
I had sort of piecemealed it from after we did our recap,
Okay.
because I was trying to fill in some time, and then before we did this, I rewatched 8 and 9. So yeah, for me, 4 is right up there. It's like neck and neck with 1. I think you're right. I think 1 is still the gold standard, but I really thought the season was exceptional.
Yeah.
And I think 3 in third place sounds about right. And I admit I probably should rewatch season 2. But yeah, I mean, and again, it's not like it's a bad season. It's just like just if you're gonna rank them, you got to put someone's got to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I love the season. I thought it sucked the landing. I love Vecna. I love Owen, whatever you want to call him. And I also love that was also one of my favorite things in this episode was Robin. Like, what do we call him? Vecna, Owen, Owen 1, and or she said slash, right? She's like Vecna / Owen / 1, and I just liked how that kind of carried through in the final episode.
Why Owen?
Wasn't it Owen? Wasn't that his real name?
Henry.
Henry. Sorry, it's Henry then. My apologies.
You're thinking of Paul Reiser.
Sorry. A lot of names, man. I'm not good with names
Yeah.
anymore.
I should do a correction. In the last episode, I said Paul Reiser was introduced in season 3, and I was like, oh no, shit, he was introduced in season 2. My bad.
It's a bad call, Ripley. It's a bad call.
Right. That's your favorite line.
It is. I love aliens. Come on. Come on.
It's great.
Yeah. I know it's gonna be forever until season 5. The kids are gonna be. They're all gonna be in like AA together. So
I hope so.
they'll probably be all haggard and
oh
worn
God,
out.
that'd be
looking.
so great if they're like alcoholics, and
Yeah. I mean,
I would love that.
well, I mean, apparently Finn Wolfhard's gonna be in another Ghostbusters movie, so he'll be working at least. But he needs to develop his calves because he shouldn't wear shorts anymore. I don't want to see those skinny legs anymore. And yeah, I don't know,
So judgmental.
dude. He looks like a toothpick.
Hey, he's a skinny dude.
He's a
Give him a
skinny,
break.
lanky. I mean, like he is lanky. He makes
He-
lanky look lanky.
He wants to play Gollum.
Is 11 is precious?
He's just pining for that remake.
Oh my god. Anywho.
Sorry, it's a joke, people. Um, I, I wanted to ask you something.
Do it.
All right. So, okay. First off, Vecna's plan seems a little random, right?
A little random.
Like, I'm gonna kill 4 people, and then all these gates are gonna open up. Like, okay, sure, I guess, right? Like, this is
Yeah, I mean, the rules of the Upside Down and how these gates open is still a little random, I suppose. But
so. Like, I took it as, so like the whole time, this whole time, even though Vecna and Elle have the same power set, she's been the only one to like open a gate. So it's something he's been unable to do. So him figuring out how to tap into these people and kill them from the other side is the only way he's managed to figure out how to open a gate of his own. And so, and if you go back to especially season 2, it's like the gate is expanding, but it's expanding slowly. So I'm kind of like, okay, so is it that there's like 4 gates, and then, like I said, they kind of like intersect in the middle. So if he has like these 4 gates, is he then just able to expand them more rapidly than he was in season 2?
these are the things that I think they have to address in season 5. I mean, we're left with a lot of questions at the end of this, and like
Yeah.
you said, they sort of course correct by shifting and making Vecna our main villain for everything that came before, even before we knew he existed.
Right.
It's not like he was foreshadowed. Like they built the Mind Flayer up to be like the big bad, and then it's like, oh no, the Mind Flayer is actually just like another weapon at Vecna's disposal. So like there's a lot of elements that we need to get like a little bit more clarity on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on how like the opening the gates works by killing these people, with these spells, but apparently that's what it takes, right? Like he sucks their soul and their essences out, and that's enough to open a portal between the dimensions. Because and maybe it has something to do with the fact that he's from the dimension. You know,
But
I
but the other thing though is that prior to this season, he has been unable to even mentally infiltrate our world
well,
without a gate.
that's what I feel like. That's sort of what they talk about with when they're sort of revealing that it's been him all along, is that he's had the wrong approach, and it wasn't until he's able to figure this out that he was able to. He was trying to infiltrate more directly with the
Right.
Demigorgons and the Mind Flayer, and it wasn't until he sort of started doing this that he sort of cracked the code on how to actually open gates for a more advanced infiltration, I suppose, is what it sort of came across to me as.
Right. The other thing, so when Chrissy was killed,
Yeah,
gate is open in the
yeah,
ceiling of the trailer. When the basketball player is killed, gate is open at the bottom of the lake.
yeah.
Where was the gate when Fred was killed? He was killed in the middle of the road.
Yeah, that one opens too. They show
But
it.
where was it?
No, they show it. They show it.
Where?
Watch episode 9 again.
No, 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 no. There was a gate like open at the bottom of the lake in the trailer, like after the people died. So shouldn't there have been like a gate in the middle of the road this whole
It
time?
was probably beneath the pavement.
Okay.
But like, if that's one of the scenes, like that spot where he dies opens up and opens up one of those fault lines.
Okay, that's fine.
They do show that. Again, maybe the
I
gate's
just
not in the
feel
pavement.
like there should have been something
Well, maybe there's
that
something about.
that's
Well,
not.
no, that doesn't make any sense either. Never mind. I don't know. I don't know why there's not a gate in the middle of the street. I don't have a good answer for you. But they do show the opening a gate. There, the fault line does open there where Fred died.
Or maybe they should have killed him in the woods where
Maybe,
someone wouldn't have noticed.
perhaps.
Uh, and I'm just gonna say I would like to see more of the Russian side of things. I have questions about that as well.
All right. So one final thing for me before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you. You are the OG Iceman. But were there any moments in this episode that got you emotionally, where you're like, maybe even a little bit of tears in the eyes? Anything, or were you the Iceman through and through?
I mean, I think for the most part, I was the Iceman. Like, I mean, I felt it when Eddie died. I was like, oh, that's sad, but kind of like, oh, that's what they do on this show. And I was uh, actually not so much what happened to Max, but I thought Caleb McLaughlin's performance in that scene as Lucas was really, really great.
Yeah.
Like that got to me more than like what happened to Max. I felt like what happened to Max was kind of like it did not that it was a cheat, but it was kind of like okay, you know, I,
Well, and with that scene, because I agree with you on Eddie, and then in this scene with Lucas and Max, when it shifts to the astral plane and you see that Eleven's there at the same time, it got me.
right,
That one got me pretty good,
okay.
for sure. Were there any more for you? Because I got a couple more.
No,
I was kind of sobbing at various points at the end of the show.
oh no, no, definitely not. But like I liked where they left the Max character. I'm very curious as to what they'll do with her in season 3,
Mhm.
or season 5.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe she'll kind of be some kind of vessel or something like that, because like man, that would really suck for her if they just like sideline her for the fifth and final season.
Yeah, but
But yeah, but that said, I also want consequences,
all right,
and if they kill Max, they kill Max.
all right. So nothing else got you in the heartstrings though.
I mean, I told you, man, I loved the whole thing, and but I'm not one to get. I don't really get misty eyed a whole lot.
Well, I
stuff.
I was actually surprised how emotional I got when Hopper and Eleven reunited.
Okay.
But the one that got me, was probably the one I least expected, because I didn't think it would actually be addressed, and so when they did it, I sort of was gutted emotionally. I was like, oh my gosh, but that it's when they're at the shelter after the earthquake,
Oh
Dustin
yeah.
and Eddie's uncle.
Yeah, that was
Oh
good.
my god, that one got me so bad in the heart. I was like, oh my
That
god,
was
my heart, I can't handle this right now.
that was good.
That
Yeah.
was so good. I mean, such just a really just wonderful performance from such a young actor.
Yeah.
And ah, it really. I know you and I can argue back and forth about the validity of Eddie's death and its necessity and stuff like that, but when they put such a lovely bow on it with that scene between those two characters, um, it just got me. It got me so
They
well.
they put a bow on it, but didn't it strain credulity a little bit? Wouldn't the uncle been like, "Wait, you were there? What happened?" It was just like,
I understand, but again, like you have to like realize these people are trying to like rationalize this tragedy that happened that they think is just an earthquake. They don't really
like,
realize the implications of what's going on here. And Dustin maybe could have chosen his words a little bit better.
well, I almost feel like it would have been more impactful that Dustin can't tell him what happened, and that he has to like carry this weight around
Well, I
with
mean,
him, almost like,
in essence, he doesn't. But he does say that like, hey man, he was fighting for this town that hated him, that didn't want him around, and he gave his life for it. You know,
yeah,
he doesn't put a lot of like source material behind that. He doesn't put a big bibliography on it.
no,
But
I know, but that's what I mean. He's like giving information that's kind of vague, which is only going to raise
well, I
questions.
think he's
So,
also consoling and sort of confirming what this family member, this uncle who is like a father to Eddie, has
but
sort of had in his heart to begin with. But to know
but
that,
if
okay,
I was just going to say, but if you remember, like at the beginning of season two, Nancy and
if you
Steve,
bring up Barb, I'm gonna kill you.
I am going to bring up Barb. Nancy and Steve are going to Barb's parents' house like every week to have dinner with them because they're still looking for their daughter, and because Nancy and Steve don't know how to tell them that she's dead because they can't explain how she died.
But
And
is
I think Dustin is now in that same situation.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't it nicer that Dustin's giving this guy closure?
Of course it's nicer, but what I'm saying is
So Dustin is better than Nancy.
I don't know if it works for the story because that guy's not just going to be like, "Okay, I accept your answer. I'm not going to raise any more questions." What do you mean you were with him when he died?
Oh
What
my
was he
god,
doing? Where was he?
you were such
What
an
do you mean, "Oh
asshole.
my God"?
You're an
You're like,
asshole.
I'm not an asshole. I'm simply pointing out that you can't just tell someone like, "Oh no, your son's dead. Quit looking for him," and have him be like, "Okay."
The earthquake is the natural disaster. Like there are people missing from it. This is how the Jason is dead. This is how his death is
I
explained.
get that. I understand that, but he's saying like he was fighting for this town. And
Oh
but what do
my
you mean he
god.
was fighting for
I'm
this town? What are
I'm
you talking
I'm
about?
gonna punch you in the fucking face next time I see you.
Sorry, sorry.
You have to wrap up a story somehow. Like you can't just keep asking questions. That's how things go on forever.
Well,
Fucking
that's
end it. Put a period at the end of the sentence.
write a better
Don't
sentence.
just dot that shit.
Write a better sentence.
Oh my god. I'm gonna choke you out. I'm gonna choke you out.
I don't know what your problem is. I've just spent 2 hours telling you that I really liked the show, but yeah, there are some things about it that didn't quite work
I
for
think it
me.
has more to do with you can't deal with emotion. You are dead inside emotionally. You are the Iceman.
I mean, look, I'm not denying this, but I think what it allows me is a cool head with which to see things so that all you people who get all wrapped up in your emotions you can't see things straight. Get irrational.
God. Oh, you suck so much. Oh my god, you're the worst. This podcast is over because you are the fucking worst. Holy shit. All right, Patreons. Marcus just killed the podcast. I'm never recording ever again. You brought me so low right now.
Sorry.
I don't think you are at all.
No, I am. Trust me.
Dustin brought that man peace, Mark. Can't you just let it be? Can't you just let that be?
I guess it doesn't take a lot to bring that guy peace.
All
Then
right,
he
Fox
doesn't have any
Mulder.
more
Ooh, I
questions.
want to believe. Blah, blah, blah. Get out of here. All right, Scully. Fuck off.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're Scully. Get out of here.
I mean, Mulder was kind of an idiot. Oh,
No.
little green men took my sister.
No,
Like,
the idiots were those of us who watched that fucking show for far too long. We are the idiots. All
Hey,
right.
I bailed. What season did I bail? What season was after the first movie?
Yeah, I don't know. That's about
I
when
think
I
season
lost.
5.
That was about when I lost my patience too. So
I watched the first episode of that season and I was like, I'm out.
yeah, I think I made it through that season before I was like, I'm out. I was like, oh, they literally picked up nothing from the movie. Awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
Anywho, let's get out of here. Mark, thank you for hanging out and being just ice cold. You are Vanilla Ice. You're ice baby. But I'm glad you enjoyed Stranger Things. I mean, by and large, you and I are on the same page about this show. That's a rare thing. That's great.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
We may fight over the minutia, but that's on brand for us, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna choke you out when you're least expecting it. Next time you go to the bathroom, watch out. Watch out.
You will try.
Oh my god. All right, Anakin Skywalker, I gotta go. Thanks, dude. We'll talk later.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
You and your friends believe you have won, don't you? But this is only the beginning. The beginning of the end.
Hey, and there it is. That's the massive conversation to close out Stranger Things Volume 4. The final 2 episodes of this season that aired back at, 4th of July, which feels like forever ago now, but I guess it was only about a month ago. Anyways, I hope you had a great time listening to it. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Things got a little silly. Can't lie about that. They got a little silly. They got a little nuts. They got a little out of hand. But things to look forward to coming down the main feed soon will be our big, we got a big Marvel catch up coming up where we talk about the Miss Marvel show, the new Thor movie. We talk about what's going on in the world of Star Trek. That episode will be on the main feed here very, very soon. And then later on in August, we will have if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that we are massive fans of the Predator franchise, the highs, the many, many lows. We still believe in the Predator, and we are going to be doing a special show to discuss the new film Prey that will be on Hulu in just a couple of days, and we are beyond excited to get into Prey and hopefully the redemption of the Predator franchise, but we will see about that and how it goes. So stay tuned for those episodes in the near future. Those will be on the main feed eventually. The Thor one coming up first. You should have that in another week or two, and then we should have the Prey one available to everybody on the main feed later in August. All right. Please make sure you're still following us on social media. We're still at TomCast POPCast on Twitter and Instagram. We're still posting, we're still doing things. So give us a follow. Make sure you're and telling people about the show. We come out sporadically, but we do come out. So make sure you're sharing the show, recommending us. We still truly appreciate that. And otherwise, I just hope everyone's been doing well. You're staying safe. You're being awesome. We're getting more pumped up for the remainder of the Padres season now that Juan Soto's in town. All that good stuff. So everyone, just be awesome, be excellent, be super cool. And when you see me, say hi. We'll converse. We'll chat. We'll get into things. Tell me what you're watching on pop culture. We'll talk about it. All right. Ciao, babes.
Great story. Compelling and rich. So the Tribe drops its third straight on this trip, 6-1 to the Rangers. For the Indians, one run on, let's see, one hit. That's all. We got one goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
We're not gonna be fucking sucked this year! We're the Stanley Cup champions!